Marine Lance Corporal Roy Mitchell Wheat was 20 years and 18 days old when he threw himself on an exploding mine in Vietnam and died to save the lives of two fellow Marines. What will cause a Marine to jump on a mine, killing himself to save his comrades? Love. Love is what Marines use to overcome the feelings of fear which are natural in combat. I learned this in Vietnam. I have to tell you, Marines don't fight for their country. They don't fight for the Marine Corps. They don't fight for apple pie, motherhood, Sally Lou, or Lost Over Shoe, Iowa. They fight for their buddies. That's what Roy Wheat did. He fought and died for his buddies. This is his story. I'm Brigadier General Tom Droughty, United States Marine Corps. No military commander ordered Mississippi's only Medal of Honor recipient in the Vietnam War to make such a sacrifice. In his act of supreme devotion, Roy obeyed a higher power, and he did it in the name of love. It happened on August 11, 1967, in Quang Nam Province, Vietnam, far from Roy's hometown of Moselle in rural Jones County, Mississippi. For all the years since his burial, the flag of the nation for which Roy died flies over his grave in East of Butchie Cemetery near Moselle. A granite monument stands in mute testimony to his selfless sacrifice. On August 18, 1990, one of Roy's friends came to Moselle for the first time to meet the hero's parents. Ernest Behringer, at the time a civilian living in Maryland, had been Roy's platoon sergeant in Vietnam. Ernie arrived too late to meet Roy's mother, Stella, then in the hospital suffering from a fatal illness. But Ernie did visit Roy's father, J.C., and they went to the cemetery where Ernie reminisced.
My recollection of Roy goes back to when he initially came to the outfit, and very quiet young fella. He always volunteered to do stuff, some stuff that wasn't too pleasant. He was real good on point, which is the first man that goes out on patrol. He leads the rest of the patrol, and it's his job to look for the enemy, signs of the enemy, or booby traps, and he became very good at that very quickly. You normally spend 2 or 3 months teaching somebody new what to look for as far as booby traps go, or enemy sign. And in Roy's case, I'm sure it was never that long, because he seemed like he had just knowledge already built in about that.
Roy Wheat is of the blood of Southern Scot-Irish and English frontier families, with a record of military service at least as far back as the war between the states. In 1927, Omer Wheat moved his family from Alabama to South Mississippi. Omer's son, J.C., grew up near Moselle, where he married Stella Mae Jenkins in 1945. Roy, the first of their 4 sons, was born July 24th, 1947. Roy grew up on a small farm in the Piney Woods. To make ends meet, J.C. worked for Jones County as a heavy equipment operator, and Stella put in long hours at a nearby garment factory. Life was good for a little boy whose family included not only loving parents and 3 brothers, Wayne, John, and Dale, but also grandmothers, cousins, aunts, and uncles. Best of all, Grandpa Omer Wheat, whom Roy called Pawpaw, lived in a little house within walking distance of the Wheat home. Roy and Pawpaw were inseparable. School pictures recorded the passing years as Roy grew up in a world imbued with the spirit of a much earlier era of American history. He absorbed the frontier values of hard work, frugality, religious faith, love of family, and an abiding love of the land. By the time he was 10, he was hunting alone in the Bay a large forbidding swamp located between the Wheat Place and Moselle. Many a time he entered this snake, alligator, and mosquito-infested tangle, and many a possum, squirrel, and raccoon fell victim to his deadly aim. Roy began his training for Vietnam in the hot summer days and humid summer nights of his youth in the Bay. On May 16, 1963, Roy graduated from the Moselle Attendance Center and won promotion to Moselle High School. At 5 feet 9 inches and 145 pounds, he was too small to play football, so he became the manager of the Moselle football team. His facility for treating injuries and his desire to alleviate the pain of others earned him the nickname Doctor. While he loved football, Roy was an indifferent student. His major interest in reading extended to history and fiction related to soldiers of war. He dropped out of school in the 11th grade, got a job in a Hattiesburg grocery store, and became friend with co-worker Bobby Joe Strahan.
Roy was not the kind of guy you think would be a hero. He was more just an average person, you know. Probably if you had 100 people out there, he'd probably be the last guy you would pick to be, that you would think was going to turn out to be a hero.
In mid-September 1966, Roy, then age 19, went to Meridian, a city 75 miles northeast of Moselle, and joined the United States Marine Corps. His parents knew nothing of this decision until asked to sign the papers. Roy arrived for recruit training at Parris Island, South Carolina in late September 1966. He described his experiences in a letter to his mother.
I'm doing fine up here. You should see me in my uniform with my hair cut short. I go to church every Sunday morning. I have 2 Bibles, of which I keep one on me and one in my footlocker. I applied for communications, but I'll probably be just an old jungle fighter like the rest of the men. The training's not too hard if you really want to be trained. In the Marines, you're trained for every kind of fighting there is, and you're trained how to kill your enemy before he gets you. I don't know nothing about wounding a man at all. I feel real mean. That's a Marine for you, tough and an expert fighter. I can tear a man's head off, and he won't realize it for about 10 minutes. I qualified as a marksman on the rifle range, and I was proud of it, and so was our drill instructor.
Like all Marines, Roy rapidly developed esprit de corps.
Today is November 10th, the Marine Corps' birthday, and we're 191 years old. Here's some Marine background and why the Marines are known as the best fighters. The Mexican War and Halls of Montezuma, which is our national anthem. Battle at Belo Woods, where the Marines were named the Devil Dogs. Guadalcanal, Tarawa. Battle of Iwo Jima, where 5 Marine divisions killed 20,000. I'm really proud to be a Marine.
Roy graduated from basic training on November 29th and wrote his mother.
Boy, I sure looked good in my uniform. I wish you could have seen me. I was lonely all day. I'd waited 8 weeks to be free, and I didn't even know how to act or what to do. I didn't even want any candy. I've got to say this, we had the best drill instructors on the island. When the buses lined up, I really hated to leave, and I believe our drill instructors hated to see us go. Mother, I just received my orders. I will go to Vietnam in March of '67. I will be home for Christmas, and boy, the girls had better watch out when I hit Moselle and Hattiesburg. Have the car gassed and oiled for me, for I'm gonna ride. I can't wait to get into civilian clothes again.
But Roy remained in uniform throughout that last Christmas. He wore his utilities during the day and his greens at night. He even ate his last Yuletide meal in uniform. On the final day of his leave, his family drove him to New Orleans to catch a plane to Camp Pendleton, California.
We had about an hour layover, and we drank Coke and coffee and stuff like that. And there come time, we walked back there, I did with him, to get aboard the plane. And he told me, I looked at him, tears running down both his eyes, and he said, Daddy, I said, I'll see you, and that was it.
Dear Mother and Dad, Camp Pendleton's a beautiful place. There's mountains all around us. I've been treated the best by the people here. Everybody can tell I'm from the South by the way I talk. I'm leaving for overseas soon, and I'll be back in no time. When I come back, you can meet me here in California. Send me a picture of Dixie. You know, a bulldog's a symbol of the Marine Corps. Your old, nutty, ugly, hateful idiot, sweet, tender-loving, kind son, Roy.
On March 9, 1967, Roy flew to Vietnam. He landed at Chu Lai, where he joined K Company, 3rd Battalion, 7th Regiment, 1st Marine Division.
Dear family, well, today is the 28th of March. There's one thing I dislike over here. You can't see the Kong until you're on top of them, and you can't see what you're shooting at. You know they're out there, so you just shoot at anything in the thick bushes, trees, and you're bound to hit something. Yesterday, we swept through a village, killing 23 Viet Cong and captured 25 suspects. We lost one sergeant. I waited a rice paddy for about 200 yards while a chopper flew cover for me and my buddies. The chopper was shooting Kong that was lying in the paddy around me. On the 23rd of March, me and others were rear security for our company and tanks. The Viet Cong caught us out in the open, and I could hear rounds hitting all around me. I opened up with a few rounds, and then the tanks moved in, and we pushed them back about 3 miles to the sea. Boy, I sure did some crazy things when we got hit, but you have no feeling for the Kong when you load your friend aboard a chopper all shot up or torn to pieces by a booby trap.
With his first taste of combat behind him, Roy's thoughts turned towards home.
Dear sweet mother, today is the 5th of April. In 3 more months, I'll be 20 years old. I bet I'm the only wheat boy that ever reached the age of 20 and not be married. I haven't met anyone I ever thought of marrying. I guess the grass around the house is beginning to turn green. How's the calves doing? I bet they're really growing now that they get plenty of green grass. Has Moselle changed any, or does it still look the same? Hey, Mom, have you heard the record called The Green, Green Grass of Home? I want you to buy it for me and keep it. I heard it over here and fell in love with it. How's the tractor running? I guess I want to be an old farmer, just raising and fattening cattle and selling them. Some of these people over here are farmers, just like the farmers in the States. But they use oxen to pull a plow, and we use a tractor. Sometimes it's not very pleasant over here, but I'm fighting to keep America free and to keep the people over here free. The people are human, just like you and I are. I heard the Marines were being called baby killers for killing 14 to 17-year-old boys. Well, the hardcore VC over here range from 12 to 75 years of age. The kids over here have real guns and real ammo, and they've been taught to use them very good. We have captured kids that looked like they were 10 years old, and they turned out to be VC. There are some of the women that even shoot as good as experts with a rifle. People in the States are crazy. They're sending blood and first aid to Hanoi and to the VC when we had 2 Marines that died because of lack of blood.
On April 8th, Roy's company went by convoy to Chu Lai. As the convoy arrived, the Viet Cong shelled the base, and Roy suffered his first wound.
Dear mother and family, I don't want you to worry any when I tell you this, because I'm all right. We got to Chu Lai on the 10th of April, and I had just jumped off the truck when all of a sudden there was a big explosion. My feet left the ground, and my rifle went up in the air, and a piece of shrapnel from a mortar round had torn a hole in my helmet, and I got a scratch on the head. After that, I spent 2 days at a Chu Lai hospital, and then I was sent out on a Red Cross hospital ship somewhere out in the South China Sea. The doctors are really nice, and the nurses on board come around and talk and mail you letters. I'll be back with my company pretty soon.
Roy rejoined his company, then located on a hill near Da Nang, just before Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day to you. I bet you thought I forgot it, but I fooled you. All that I have that I can send you is a C-ration can opener that I have. It's not the best gift in the world, but better than nothing. We're sitting on Hill 55, about 4 miles west of Da Nang. There's 36 Marines on this hill and 2 M60 machine guns and 2 Ontos, so we have a lot of firepower. We have a lot of barbed wire that is impossible to get through. I'm sitting here watching jets drop their bombs. It's really a sight to watch, just like in the movies. Also, Marine fighter pilots have really got guts. They come down to about 100 feet off the ground and they drop their bombs and then they take off for another run. Those new Phantom jets we have can fly as low as a chopper and yet as fast as speeds of up to 2,000 miles per hour. There are fighter planes and bombers in the air 24 hours a day. We called in for an airstrike on an enemy bunker from which we were getting fired at, and in less than 2 minutes we saw jets streaking through the skies above us, and they made a direct hit with a 250-pound bomb.
After a move from Hill 55 to Hill 10, Roy wrote a letter to his old friend, Bobby Joe Strahan.
Well, Bobby Joe, we've moved up on Hill 10 about 5 or 6 miles southwest of Da Nang. There's a river running by our hill, and we're standing 24-hour watch on the bridge, checking boats when they come up or down the river. We've got it pretty easy here, and I think I'm going to like it here. We're getting 3 hot meals a day. I just got through cleaning my M16 and it's ready for action. Do you like the picture of my rifle, the new M16? It packs a lot of power. We run a lot of patrols out in the field looking for VC so we can have a little fight with them. Yesterday when we got in a firefight, I shot one out of a tree and shot him 3 times before he hit the ground. I'm real good with my rifle. I've brought down VC as far as 500 yards. Your old buddy, Roy.
He wrote to his father about one of his most dangerous duties, minesweeping.
Dear Dad, I started at 5:30 this morning for security for the minesweepers. We walked about 5 miles from 5:30 to 10. Traffic on the roads don't open up until after we've already minesweep the road.
Other people from the Moselle area periodically wrote to Roy. He replied to Mrs. F.C. Brent, his elementary school teacher.
It was the 3rd grade when you had me and my cousin Jean. I can remember those 3rd grade years like they were just yesterday. The Marine Corps is the best branch of service. I've got some good buddies, and I've lost some good buddies too. On May 31st, we lost 2 Marines from our company. One of them stepped on a mine which blew one of them half in 2. I guess it was just their time and the Lord called for them. Your 3rd grader, Roy.
On June 21st, Roy notified his mother of his promotion to Lance Corporal and expressed an overwhelming homesickness.
I'm getting tired of this place over here. It's the same thing every day, 7 days a week. It's like being in a dream. Everything don't seem true. All we do is sweat and kill all the time. Once in a while, I lose my balance. I guess that mortar round messed me up more than I thought. I'll be all right over here, but they'll never get peace over here, not now or 10 years from now. This place is strictly for the nutbirds. I sure wish I could get some good old Southern home-cooked meals. You'd better have me some cornbread, peas, butter beans, and okra for me when I get home, and a big slice of cake. I'm gonna eat all the time I'm home.
At last, the date that Roy had anticipated for months arrived.
Dear Mother, July 24th, 1967. Today I'm 20 years old. I got your birthday box. No, Mom, I haven't been in any firefights for at least, well, ever since the 4th of July, and that's when we got sniped at and burned a village down on the 4th of July. Just think, 20 years old. Seems like only yesterday that Dad was spanking my tail and for crying too much, and Pawpaw was rocking me in his old chair and fixing me a swing. How time flies. This is my birthday card I got from the 1st platoon. Don't let it get lost. I want to keep it.
He picked up a nickname while he was over there. There's actually 2 of them. One was the Ghost, and it seems the one that's most prevalent, though, was Dead Man. And the reason for it was because of his light complexion. And believe it or not, his slow mannerisms.
Only 3 days later, Roy performed a death-defying act that earned him the Navy Commendation Medal.
Dear family, on the 27th of July at 8:15 at night, we was moving to our ambush spot, and we started up this hill, and I was the point man. I found a wire that was running through the bushes, and it was a booby trap, and I grabbed the grenade and told the men behind me to run. It was a 2-second fuse. I turned the loose of the grenade and ran back down the hill. It was the first time a booby trap was set off at night without killing anybody. Well, Mom, you can write and tell everyone about the great heroic bravery I did. I sure will be glad when I can get out from over here and get home where I belong.
On July 30th, Roy received a second and more severe wound.
Dear Mother, Dad, and family, just a few lines to let you know I'm fine. We was setting up an ambush Sunday when Charlie threw a grenade, and it got 3 of us. I got hit right in the tail. Isn't that a good place to get hit? 2 of my buddies carried me about 100 yards to be medevaced out of the field. I'm in the 1st Medical Battalion in Da Nang. The doctor couldn't get the shrapnel out, so I guess I'll be carrying a little piece of metal around in my tail. Dad, I got the Purple Heart yesterday. It sure is pretty. A colonel came around and gave it to me. Your Marine, Roy.
On August 8th, 1967, Roy wrote his last letter.
Dear Mother and family, just a few lines to say hello and let you know I'm doing just fine. I'll probably be out with the 1st platoon later today. I sure will be glad to get out there and see my old buddies again. Be good and keep going to church. Tell those brothers of mine to be good. Love, Roy.
Roy was killed 3 days later. His Medal of Honor citation reads, "The President of the United States, in the name of Congress, takes pride in presenting the Medal of Honor posthumously to Lance Corporal Roy M. Wheat, United States Marine Corps, for service set forth in the following: for conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity at the risk of his life above and beyond the call of duty. While serving as a fire team leader with the 1st Platoon, Company K, 3rd Battalion, 7th Marines, Corporal Wheat and 2 other Marines were assigned the mission of providing security for a Navy construction battalion, crane and crew, operating along Liberty Road in the vicinity of Dien Ban District in Quang Nam Province. After the Marines had set up security positions in a tree line adjacent to the work site, Corporal Wheat reconnoitered the area to the rear of their location for the possible presence of guerrillas. He then returned to within 10 feet of friendly position, and here unintentionally triggered a well-concealed, bounding-type anti-personnel mine. Immediately, a hissing sound was heard, which was identified by the 3 Marines as that of a burning time fuse. Shouting a warning to his comrades, Corporal Wheat, in a valiant act of heroism, hurled himself upon the mine, absorbing the tremendous impact of the explosion with his own body. The inspirational personal heroism and extraordinary valor of his unselfish action saved his fellow Marines from certain injury and possible death, reflected great credit upon himself, and upheld the highest traditions of the Marine Corps and the United States Naval Service. He gallantly gave his life for his country. On September 23, 1968, J.C. and Stella Wheat received their sons posthumously awarded Medal of Honor in a ceremony at the Marine Barracks in Washington, D.C. The 2 Marines whose lives Roy saved were present: Lance Corporal Vernon Sorensen of Albany, California, and Lance Corporal Bernard Cannon of Chicago. Both finished their tours of duty in Vietnam and returned to civilian life. When Ernie Behringer came to visit the Wheat family, he brought to them the rubbing of Roy's name from the Vietnam Memorial in Washington. Before departing East Abuchi Cemetery, he gazed at Roy's grave and delivered his heartfelt assessment of the wall and war and Roy Wheat's death.
Concerning the Vietnam Memorial, or the wall in Washington, D.C., what that represents, along with being a catharsis, is what war is, what war does. Whether one life is lost or whether there's 58,000 plus lives lost, one life is too many to lose in a war, no matter what the cause, and no matter when. Because there's just one name on that wall, there's a family behind that name somewhere like Moselle, Mississippi.